Hello and welcome to the Economic Times Best Organizations for Women special series, wherein we showcase enterprises that are deeply transforming India's socio-economic landscape. In this episode, we present to you a company that is empowering women in the workforce with its progressive corporate policies. We're talking about disk drive manufacturer and data storage giant Western Digital. Have a look. Western Digital thrives on the power and potential of diversity. As trailblazers in the data technology space, the enterprise seems to have embraced the philosophy that the most effective way to embrace the diversity of its customers and its communities is to mirror it from within. We first spoke to Dr. Kiranmai Pendyala, Head of Human Resources India, Western Digital, for her take on how specific progressive initiatives at Western Digital have created a culture of inclusion at all levels of the organization. Now, for sake of some context setting, how would you characterize Western Digital's approach to embracing diversity?
That's a beautiful question, I would say. It's making me think, what do we do at Western Digital which really unleashes its potential of innovation through its diverse perspectives? We continually strive to bring in the diverse perspectives. And when we do that, let me give you an example.
Please.
For instance, when we talk about or look at raindrops, they're so little in shape and size.
Sure.
But when they continuously fall, they'll make the river overflow.
Right.
So what we believe at Western Digital is small and consistent efforts can create massive changes. I think that's what shapes us. That's what embodies our culture. And hence, when we look at diversity, it's an embodiment of various perspectives, and it's not just one single thing.
At an organizational level, what are the success indicators when it comes to gender diversity? How do you assess your progress? How do you measure your progress?
We do several things in order to keep us abreast of managing as well as ensuring that we are marching towards a goal. If I step back and say, how were we as Western Digital India, let's say 6 years ago?
Sure.
6 years ago, from a headcount perspective, or from which is the size, as well as the number of women in the workforce, we were at a mere 11%. Today, I'm so proud to talk about how we crafted our journey and our strategy to enable us to get to 22%, which is 100% growth when we look at that. It doesn't happen just like that. It's not a toggle of a switch. So we have the intention, but we also have marched towards that goal methodically, structurally. So what we have done is we have deployed various strategies. One of them is what we refer to as university relations strategy, UR. So through that, we have ensured there's a steady pipeline of women entering the workforce. Because all of us know, when we talk about representation of women in the workforce, definitely it's not what we expect it to be when we look at the larger communities of society. And when we look at the tech industry in particular, and especially when we talk about STEM skills, which is what the industry I represent belongs to, we have seen it's further underrepresented.
Of course.
So when we look at this, we said we have to create the steady pipeline, and then look at each layer and level. How do we internally start building the support mechanisms and the ecosystem which is friendly from a workplace perspective to allow women to make this their second home and be happy to come to work?
Well, Kiranmai, that makes for a wonderful segue into my next question, because I'd love your thoughts on how women in tech can be groomed for top leadership positions in larger representation.
I'm very, very proud to talk about a few key initiatives we have devised, and we continue to march towards our goal. So what we have started is, I would look at it from a three-pronged angle. The first one is we have a network, which is a business resource group called WIN, that is Women Impact Network. So what we do at WIN, or this business resource group, is there are 4-pronged strategy out there. So we look at what we refer to as awareness, which is people need to be aware. It's not just meant for women. While it's Women Impact Network, we want everybody in the workforce to embrace it, to understand that we can create more impact together. That's where the inclusion comes in. So it's awareness, then we talk about advocacy, then accountability and engagement. So that's how the WIN network really helps amplify our mission and our vision to create more diverse and impactful networks within the workplace and also bring us more women into the workforce. Now, as I'm talking about WIN, that's the first initiative I said. And we join forces with what we refer to as the DEI initiatives. So we have a group led by HR, Human Resources, and what we started crafting as part of this strategy is yet another very interesting and important agenda item for Western Digital as an IP-led company and as an innovation computer storage solutions company is She Invents. A very powerful way of showing it's not just a male who can invent, but we can have inventors and makers and innovators coming in from women.
Right.
And the reason we had to create this is we realized just as there is underrepresentation in STEM skills, we also found there is even further underrepresentation when it comes to patents and trade secrets. And we said we have to really give it a booster shot, just as we're talking about, the other booster shots in the economy. We said we have to give it a booster shot. So in the year 2020, we crafted this She Invents enterprise-wide. And in India, if I look at what we're doing at Western Digital India, we said we launched it and it has several pieces to it. When we said She Invents, we're talking about how women can explore, first understand what they can do as inventors and makers and innovators.
Right.
So one is the familiarity of the process. They may not be aware of how to file a patent, for instance, and that could be a stumbling block for them to even move forward.
Of course.
So we started creating that awareness in collaboration with the DEI and say, here is how you can really file the patent, right? Here is how you can be assigned a trade secret.
Right.
So once we started crafting that story and taking it to the fore, I am so proud and happy and excited to share with you that in the year 2021, because that's when it's like we have seeded an idea and now we'll have to see how the outcome reality is. So out of the 360 odd women engineers at Western Digital India, we had 54 of them who participate because it's a voluntary. We're not going to enforce and say mandate.
Sure.
So 54 of them actively took part, women engineers, in this She Invents program.
A phenomenal figure.
Yes, which is 15% in the first year of its launch.
Right.
And out of this 15%, why I have this huge smile and that happiness and pride is 20% of those women engineers who participated have been designated or assigned a trade secret by the end of the year. That means they were able to understand the process, they were able to invent, and they have today, to their credit, trade secrets.
Right.
Another 20% have patents granted. They not only filed, but they have patents granted. So that's a phenomenal 40% of them going through the program have given us the results, and it clearly created the role models across saying this is possible, women can do it, right? So that is another marker very clearly how we are tracking in terms of not just creating the support ecosystem for the women, but also tracking the metrics and showcasing and sharing it with them. And the several other patents which are being applied for. I go to the third initiative which we run, which is I Am Remarkable.
All right.
Now, this is a global Google-led initiative where there are workshops being led, and we've embraced it. We collaborated with Google and we said, we want to take it for Western Digital. And what it means is any underrepresented group, there is going to be a workshop, sensitization, helping them to find their voice.
Sure.
It's more of self-promotion.
Right.
So the importance of self-promotion, saying, I'm remarkable. That confidence, that feeling that I am capable.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who is an underdog. I think that again gives a huge fillip to the confidence of women and their self-esteem. And they are on the path again to generate, I would say again, whether it's patents from a technology company as we look for, or just finding their voice and a seat at the table as we say. So what we have accomplished again by embracing this initiative is we've conducted 32 global workshops, including India. And we had again 350 participants in the first year, which we've conducted. Extraordinary feedback coming in from all of them, because they can now realize they found their voice. They realize that self-confidence leads to self-esteem.
Of course.
And they are on the path to success. So these are the three which are very clear indicators that we have been continuously looking at diversity and inclusion being part of our fabric. One other thing which I talk about is accelerating women in leadership. So we started crafting this where we said, across the globe, let's draw our inspiration from each other.
Sure.
So we have women, because what I have to say again is Western Digital as a company is one among the foremost across the globe when it comes to patenting or IP.
Right.
We have 14,000 patents as on today active, so which is a phenomenal success for the company as an innovator, as an inventor. And we want to leverage that and make more women embrace it and bring in that latent talent or hidden talent in them. And I think that's what we are fostering right now.
Well, ma'am, we certainly have to applaud your very tangible and trailblazing efforts, and we wish you all the continued success.
Thank you.
It's time for a short break, but our special feature, Economic Times Best Organizations for Women, featuring Western Digital, continues on the other side. So stay with us. Hello and welcome to our special feature, Economic Times Best Organizations for Women, featuring Western Digital. Up next, we caught up with the Senior Vice President of Western Digital, Khurram Ismail, who shed more light on how, with its diverse mix of employees, the company is becoming increasingly globally competitive.
The richness in ideas and solutions that diversity brings would almost always trump homogeneous sets of thinking or ideas. Secondly, it creates an environment where our employees feel welcomed and comfortable to do their best work. We, as a technology company, are all about innovation, and I strongly believe for us to be the most innovative company, we need to embrace and foster diversity.
And how do you, in your professional role and in a personal capacity, help create a more inclusive culture at Western Digital every day?
It's an end-to-end process when we talk about inclusive culture. We need to ensure all are represented at appropriate levels of organization. From recruiting, to fostering, to promoting, to enabling, we must be intentional about having the right representation. Inviting all sorts of people to the next level is the core foundation of high-performing culture and successful organizations. And while diversity is a fact, inclusion is a choice and something that must be intentional.
Next, we caught up with the President of Technology and Strategy at Western Digital, Siva Sivaram, to understand the company's approach to creating a culture of equal opportunity for its female employees. Well, tell us about the Western Digital We Win Business Resource Group and what it's designed to achieve.
We have several business resource groups that are directed towards our diverse employee base. One of the more popular one is We.Win. I have been the executive champion for We Win now for well over 5 years. In those 5 years, I have seen this group diversify across the continents. It started out with a small group in Milpitas and then a small group in San Jose. Now we have chapters in India, in Israel, in Thailand, in Japan. The growth of this organization, the participation of the women, and the programs that we offer, for example, during the International Women's Day, the number of new people that came and talked, the participation from the grassroots up, it is very gratifying to see how strongly this organization has grown across our company.
After our conversation with the President of Technology and Strategy at Western Digital, Siva Sivaram, we caught up with the Vice President of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, Olivia Shen Green, for her take on how the next generation of women leaders in the workplace can be identified, groomed and nurtured. Olivia, diversity, equity, and inclusion have become complete buzzwords today. But what do they mean at Western Digital specifically? And what are some of the initiatives and social outreach programs, perhaps, that best reflect these values within the company?
Why is diversity, equity, and inclusion a priority at Western Digital? Well, we think about it in three ways: people, innovation, and marketplace. From a people perspective, we know individuals want to work at a company with a diverse and inclusive culture. They want to come to a company like that, and they want to stay at a company like that. And there's a Gallup poll that tells us that companies that have an inclusive culture have a 22% lower turnover rate. From an innovation perspective, we know that diverse skills, experiences, and perspectives enable innovation. An analysis of women's participation in IT patents found that mixed gender teams in the US produce patents that are cited 30 to 40% more than single gender teams, either all male or all female. And then finally, from a marketplace perspective, diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that is being brought up by our institutional investors, by our customers and our partners as a priority.
After our conversations with management, we spoke to several employees at Western Digital for a first-hand take on the company's work culture and the opportunities it generates for personal and professional success. Seema, for sake of some context setting and for the benefit of our viewers, what are some of the challenges that you've encountered as a woman in tech, and how do you go about overcoming those challenges?
Though it's really heartening to see the number of women growing in the tech industry, but there are some challenges which still persist. One of the common challenge which I feel is taking a break from work to raise a family. Women usually have that fear in the mind: I have taken a break, will I be able to come back to work ever? So this is a fear in the mind of a woman.
Of course.
And because we are, especially in the tech industry, where we are working on cutting edge technology, which is evolving continuously. So it is a challenge, but then to overcome this challenge, what we can do is be in touch with technology when you are on a break, and understand the workplace changing norms that are happening, and be in touch with your ex-colleagues or broaden your network. So I think this helps, and WD is making an effort towards it. It has been encouraging women, and now they are opening up new avenues like back to work support and flexi work hour timings to help women create a good work-life balance.
Do you personally feel the impact of the multiple diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that Western Digital India has implemented? How do you assess your own experience?
I have worked in a lot of companies, and but ever since I've joined Western Digital, I've had a different experience, especially in the area of DE&I. It's really, I can say proudly, the leadership team and the HR have made a great investment in this area.
Sure.
And the leaders walk the talk. They are not only advocates of DE&I, but they also are sponsors, and they practice it at multiple levels in different forums. We have a lot of leadership programs where women are encouraged to go, Advancing Women for Leadership, Breakthrough Leadership Journey for Women. I personally have taken part in it, and I feel there's a lot of learning in these forums. And women are usually not considered, very tech savvy, or a lot of innovations and inventions are not coming from women, which is not true. So at Western Digital, there is an investment which is done for the women inventors, which is called the She Invents. So, which gives a lot of encouragement for women in technology to go ahead and file the patents, and then or do something in innovation.
Absolutely.
And there's a perception that women are not, they don't perform at the same level as their male counterparts. Where I feel WD, the leaders have taken an attempt, they have made an attempt to give a seat to women at the table so that they can share their opinions. And hiring and diversity, HR has done a great job in our hiring and diversity. So there's a lot of emphasis which is given to hiring diverse candidates. I feel this Western Digital has given an opportunity to women right? They can perform at their best, and in technology, having that kind of a backing is very important. So Pooja, I would say what I am today, I owe a big deal to Western Digital because they have helped me shape my career as a women leader in technology.
Thank you for sharing a piece of your journey with us. It's very heartening and inspiring to hear.
Thank you for having me over, Pooja.
4G principle which drives us forward. India is such a vast country, and we can tap into the north, west, south, as well as the east, right? So we bring in talent from across India. Then we are also conscious about the generational cohorts. So we talk about right from baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, and so on. We talk about gender diversity, so women coming into the workforce. And then the fourth G, I would look at it as the LGBTQ, in that's the G. So it's about embracing, and it won't stop there.
And with that, our special feature in the series, Economic Times Best Organizations for Women, comes to a close. I'm Pooja Jain signing off from the Western Digital India headquarters in Bangalore. Thanks for watching.